you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. We are going to look at some of the games right now, Pierre, from last week, but our focus today will be the Montreal Canadiens as we welcome on Eric Engels of Sportsnet will be joining us in about 10 minutes here on the Eye Test. So we'll get the latest on the Canadiens. Things are not going well for them right now. They are in a rut. Patience is wearing thin amongst the fan base and the media. And as we were just saying off air, it appears the honeymoon is almost to an end right now for Marty St. Louis and the Montreal Canadiens rebuild. People want results right now, and we'll get into it with Eric. But I think one thing that we'll agree on when we talk to him, results are one thing, but they'll be okay with just results in terms of a better effort and in terms of being in a game, in terms of doing the things they set out to do and doing the things they're supposed to do, Pierre. So we'll get into that with Eric in a bit. But last night, I want to bounce around. We had every team in action, Pierre. Was there's something that, you woke up today other than the Canadiens that was on your mind and you said, wow, that was a really gutsy performance, or wow, that was a really bad performance?
Well, first of all, for Utah, I feel bad with Sean Durzi and John Marino, both gone for a significant amount of time. That's going to change the complexion of the Utah hockey club significantly. So that's a big problem for them. Durzi, he's having shoulder surgeries done for the year. Marino's having lower back surgeries done 3-4 months. Robert Thomas broke his ankle for St. Louis last night. Feel terrible for him. He was off to a real good start. He's a key component to their team. I didn't think they were a playoff team to start. I don't think they're a playoff team now because of that. The New York Islanders lost a game 1-0 last night. The Detroit Red Wings only had 11 shots on goal last night, and they won the game 1-0. It's a great performance from Alex Lyon. But you can see how much they're going to miss Anthony Duclair. Yeah. They don't have nearly enough offense on that team. We talked about it before the season started. Now they lose Duclair, a guy they went out and got because they want him to give offense. He's going to be out for a significant amount of time, lower body. Columbus with a huge win last night over Toronto, gigantic win. Toronto didn't even compete, and they know it, and they're going to hear it from their coach. They know they didn't compete. And St. Louis is going into Toronto, by the way, so that's going to be tough for them with Berube's team. But here's the thing. Goodbranson, who's an important defenseman for them, he's having shoulder surgery, so he's done for a while. And the biggest one, a team that lost last night, Seattle, lost 3-2 to Colorado. Vince Dunn, he's on LTIR, and they're not saying what it is. I saw the hit when he got hurt. He came back and tried to play again for a couple games, and it must have caused too much of a problem. But they're saying it's a mid-body injury. So just think about all those players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys are basically done for 4 to 6 months. And they're important players on all these teams. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up. And the thing that impressed me the most, the Minnesota Wild getting no fanfare at all. Zero. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with Philip Gustafson, okay, the goaltender. He's second in the league in goals against, and he's second in the league in save percentage. Do you want to tell me why Ottawa would have moved him? Okay, so we got that out of the way. I feel better. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I'm not sure there's a better line in the league right now. And there are plenty of good lines. I'm just going based on last night. But when you watch Marco Rossi, Kirill Kaprizov, and Matt Zuccarello play, if you're a fan of the Minnesota Wild, you better get to the rink every single night to watch these guys. Yep. They are a ton of fun to watch. So Minnesota is – go look at the standings, Jimmy. Yep, I am. Minnesota is playing unbelievable. Everybody thought no chance, $15 million of dead cap space. They got no chance. It's one more year that they're playing really well. And a little tip of the hat out there to another guy, John Hines, their coach.
I was hoping
Johnny Hines is coaching his tail off right now. So, we were talking about Ryan Huska, who's doing a tremendous job out in Calgary. They win again. It's unbelievable. But we got to give credit where credit's due. And I think Johnny Hines is doing an awesome job in Minnesota.
Yeah, because quickly, and we got Eric now, but quickly with Minnesota too, Pierre, we both agreed heading into the season. And I think a lot of people are on the same boat with us, maybe even people within the organization was like, look, we got one more year to tread water here, and then we're free from that dead cap space. and we can move ahead from there. So let's just stick with it. But I don't, this is going far and above expectations, and good on them. And I'm glad you brought up Marco Rossi too. That was the guy I remember too, Pierre, when we previewed the Wild. I asked you for an X Factor player, and that was the player you chose. So good on you. Good call by you. But let's go talk about some Montreal Canadiens right now with our good friend Eric Engels of Sportsnet joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. You see him on with Tony Marinaro a lot. Welcome aboard the Eye Test, Eric. Good to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good we finally got this together. I know we've been trying a couple times, but it's always a pleasure to speak with two guys who know the game as well as you guys do.
Thank you. Yeah, it was nice to see you a couple weeks back in Montreal at TD Garden. Are you traveling every game now, Eric, or just kind of sporadic?
We pick our spots. I mean, when the Canadiens are in town, they go for a one gamer somewhere and then come right back. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You need some practice time, the time on the road, as you know, Jimmy, getting into the room, talking to guys in a different atmosphere where there's a few less reporters around is always valuable for a writer and a guy who's expected to write columns and provide analysis and not just tell you what's happening, but why it matters. So look for the best opportunities to do that. Never want to be away from the team for too long either. So when they go on a long road trip, very important to get on those. So I'm happy Sportsnet sees the value in that, and I'm happy to get out on the road as much as I can.
So one of the reasons why you're on here today, I asked Jimmy because I know how hard you work to get information and intel in the dressing room. So I have no inside information. Tell me that today was a really hard practice for Montreal.
Well, today was a day off for me and a day for some house cleaning and items like going to the doctor and the dentist and getting a new passport because mine's expiring in April. But, listening to the comments because I'm never too far disconnected from it. Martin St. Louis was praising the 15 guys that participated in practice for going really hard at it. And I think that word hard is something we need to talk about when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens, because right now, and I'm not talking about sticking up for your teammates and, having that pack mentality that Martin St. Louis wants to have. That's all there, but they're way too easy to play against. They're way too easy to play against. And I saw it, not just talking about the glaring mistakes that we saw against the Rangers, which we can break down, I'm sure, but the things that I see that are thematic here, that are really disturbing me are they don't hit on the forecheck. Marty had a line last year that if you forecheck space and you don't forecheck people, you're going to have a hard time recovering pucks and extending offensive zone pressure. That stuck with me. And I see the Canadiens through the first 7 games of the season forechecking a lot of space and not forechecking people, not finishing hits. And they give up their line way too easily for a team that back pressures reasonably well with their forwards. And I want to look at one goal in specific last night. It's not the one that a lot of people would think of because you saw an icing and you saw Lane Hudson give the puck up and, that first rush from Ziminejad coming off the bench. There was a goal to make it 5-2 that people were blaming Caden Primo for. And, of course, Primo's got to come up with that save. But before all that happens, it's a 1-on-3 with Christian Dvorak providing back pressure and shoving the player from New York who's coming over the line essentially in Lane Hudson's direction. He's backing off the line and just giving up the line. And from there, the breakdown happens, it gets around, and a goal gets scored. And I don't think a lot of people were focused on that. They're focusing on Primo waving at a puck. But that is symptomatic of one of the biggest issues I'm seeing with their team right now.
Jimmy, what Eric just brought up a really good point. So he's talking about there's miscommunication there. That's a communication play. But what he's talking about is so appropriate because I talked to our good friend Mitch Melnick this morning. They give up the offensive blue line way too easy. Way too easy. And the second thing is from the hash mark to the icing line, too soft in their end zone coverage. And then their backside coverage is non-existent. The Rangers were running Harlem Globetrotter plays on the high cycle last night, and there was no resistance. There was zero resistance. And I'm like, I'm watching it in my room, in my office, and I'm going, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take charge. And, Eric, I'm glad you brought up the icing goal. I know you weren't there today because I was going to ask you, I wonder if anybody went to the Montembeau and said, hey, did you tell the defenseman anything? And then I hope they go to the defenseman, one of them was Struble, and say, did you talk to the goalie or did you talk to your partner? Did anybody talk? I don't think this team talks enough. And Eric, you're at practice all the time. I know I'm hot under the collar because I care about this team. I think they've done a lot of good stuff as a management group, but that's pathetic, what I saw last night.
Well, it wasn't good. I mean, that's a play that you don't have to be in the NHL to realize what you should be doing to create an icing call. I did speak to Mark Denis, who was between the benches, just to find out if the linesman was yelling icing, which would explain how those two guys let up and allow Brodzinski to just score from the goal mouth. And he said that he was, but ultimately when he recognizes that both defensemen are easing up, getting to create that icing call, he waves it off. And, you know, that's just an unforgivable mistake. And I don't think Marty needs to pull Jaden Struble and Logan Mailloux aside and say, guys, what's going on here? But Pierre's bringing up a really good point, and I think it's relevant for a couple of reasons. Whether Montembeault was saying anything or not, one of the things with young players in this league, and Pierre, you've been around this a lot, like Struble's in game 58 last night, Mailloux's in game 3 in this league, and I don't know if it's that they struggle to find their voice, but there is some tentativeness stepping into the NHL environment and being around more seasoned players and just kind of shutting your mouth and letting everybody else dictate what goes on. But you want to win hockey games. You want to be connected, as Marty St. Louis always says. You better be talking. And that's got to be an issue that gets resolved quickly.
What a great statement, Jimmy, by Eric. That was really strong. That was really good, Eric, because you're there all the time. I'm watching it as a former coach in the league. I'm going, they're not talking. There's an issue there. Those guys are not talking.
But Pierre, as a coach, isn't it Marty's job there to in practice, taking them aside, wherever, whether it's video meetings, whatever, just get them aside and say, guys, you need to be vocal out there. You need to be louder. You need to be in communication with each other. I know the player, I'm not trying to take responsibility off the player. I'm not trying to, make them exempt from this. But as Eric pointed out, these are young players. They're still acclimating themselves. Is it not the coach? And to furthermore, maybe even veterans on the team to be like, hey guys, don't be afraid out there. Speak up. It's okay. Like we want you to do that. We want you to be loud.
Yeah, no, I think it's everybody. And Eric, again, I think Eric said it really eloquently. I really like the way he presented that. Here's what I know. We used to practice, and you can go look it up when I was in Hartford. We used to practice 3-on-3 down low, below the hash marks, 15 to 20 minutes every day. Then we do isolation coverage up high. We do that for about 7 to 10 minutes. We did that every day. And I think we cut 82 or 83 goals against from the season before. You can teach defensive zone coverage. Some of the most boring practices I ever watched were Jacques Lemaire in New Jersey, when he had Mario Tremblay working with him and Larry. And all it was in zone coverage, stick position, skate this way, turn that way, put your head this way, get in the lane there. And that's how they practiced. Yeah. Well, they were no fun to play against, I can tell you. Coach against, it seemed like every other night, just for those days. And their teams are so prepared. You can teach defensive zone coverage. Eric, I don't know how much they practice it. I just don't know.
They practice it a ton, Pierre, and it's been a specific emphasis since the beginning of this training camp. And Marty has isolated the issue and put it very eloquently himself, which is that they're too content to be between the puck and the scoring areas without attacking to kill the play fast enough. Part of that is communication, I think. I don't see them getting lost. They are getting outworked in their own zone quite a bit. They're getting, put through the meat grinder, so to speak, the cyclone. And especially when you play a team against the Rangers, with Marty using the term circus offense, which is what that team is capable of with the talent it has, it can be easy to get crossed up. They're not giving away the dangerous areas of the ice, but you can't just be content to be pushing everything to the outside and let it spin around your zone until inevitably there will be a breakdown, because you're going to get tired. And not only that, even if there isn't one, you're not going to have enough energy to go on offense. So there's a lot to sort out. A factor, obviously, is the youth and inexperience. Another factor is, talk about youth and inexperience. Like Caden Gooley has 115 games of NHL experience, but you can really see what's missing when he's not playing. That is a huge, huge loss, especially with the way he started the season. He just looks so ready to take his game to the next level and was in the process of doing that. And I'm sitting here today wondering, like, is Kent Hughes regretting that Jonathan Kovacevic was moved out to make some room for the youth? You know, they're in this long-term rebuild. They're trying to get intel and information, and the only way they're going to get it is by playing these young players and bringing them to a point of maturity so that when the team is structured to win and has more talent around it and experience, you know, they need those kids to play those games. But there is a balance between that and exposing them. And every coach in the league deals with that process in an NHL, in a cap world where you have to integrate young talent. But it's really hard as we get towards the tail end of October and the early stage of November to go find a good stabilizing veteran defenseman. Like, it's really hard to make a trade, period, at this time of year. It's particularly hard to find that specific type of guy. Even if you look at the teams that are hungry for scoring and injured, like look at Colorado, who would they give up on their blue line to get a scoring type player? You know, like it's you create one hole to patch one. No GMs in the league anymore like to operate that way. It's not the old Wild West anymore. So I don't know how they're going to solve that issue. And Gustav Lindstrom is a guy that they brought into Laval, who's played some games in Montreal last year, could be a stabilizing type of player, but I don't think it provides enough for what they need back there right now to not expose their young guys as much as they have to right now.
Well said.
And this is for both of you guys quick, and then I want to get to the Trouba hit on Barron. But quickly, you know, they come in, and this is when everyone was healthy, and you know, none of the injuries in the preseason happened yet. None of the stuff that we're seeing now has happened. But they come in saying they want to be in the mix, and I felt like, okay, that's doable. I think they can. I think they're going to make the playoffs? Probably not, but I think they're going to be one of those teams that's still playing meaningful games, you know, late March, early April, having an effect, if not on themselves making it, on other teams making it, you know, and or not making it. And so I felt like, yeah, that's attainable. But do you think now, when you see these injuries and the effects that they're having on the team immediately, do you think they're reevaluating and say, well, maybe we're not deep enough to be in the mix yet? Do you think that's what maybe there's a lesson being learned here on the fly that they're going to have to adjust to?
Well, I'd love to hear Pierre's thoughts on it before I answer.
I think they're obviously looking at that. I think Eric made a good point about Kovacevic, by the way. I was still that move. The one thing I'll say, this is for all Canadiens fans out there, you have one thing that's going to change the entire equation. You have Jacob Fowler. And Jacob Fowler is going to change the entire level of this team's ability to compete goals against wise. But it's not going to happen at the end of this year. It's probably 30 to 40 American League games next year. And then you hope he's like Marty Brodeur, which I kind of think he can be. But we'll see.
Yeah, and specifically to your question, Jimmy, like, okay, you know, Laine's out early in camp. Slavkovsky's out for the next week. Gooley's not playing. Matheson's playing hurt. Okay, these aren't excuses; they're reasons. Mm-hmm. But the way the games are going down, the inability to stop, quote unquote, shooting yourself in the foot, not giving yourself a chance to be in the game, let alone win it, is sobering. There is a sobering reality check happening here for a team that, you know, Marty St. Louis built a really strong foundation of competitiveness within this team and built an identity of how they want to play. Getting to it becomes difficult when you're missing those guys, when you have young guys like Hudson Mayu and Struble and Jackeye playing a little above their heads, which is only normal. They're just by default being put in those positions where they have to do that. And, you know, I think management in general had a pretty realistic outlook, no matter what they've said about where they want the Canadiens to go this year. And I think Marty has a pretty realistic output. But you try telling a player, and try telling Nick Suzuki or Mike Matheson or Cole Caulfield or anybody that you shouldn't believe that you should be a lot better this year than you have been for the last couple of years. Try telling that to Jake Evans. And I wonder, and a concern would be, that some of those guys are looking around right now and saying, maybe we aren't who we think we are. And you don't want that to happen 7 games into the season. There's a lot of hyperbole in Montreal, good or bad, no matter how well you're playing, no matter how poorly you're playing.
Yep.
It's not just Montreal. Like, if you look around the league, Jimmy, you're in Boston. Like, I don't know what people are saying right now after
it's not good right now. It's not good.
But it's 7 games in. Like,
I know.
you really don't know what you have until we're about 18, 19, 20. And that's hard for hockey fans to digest because they have expectations themselves. And it's hard for players to digest because they have their own internal expectations that are, no matter how they defy public opinion, they're always high, no matter what team you are. I bet you San Jose came into the season saying, we're going to be a lot better this year. Like Chicago, same thing. I think there's a foundation that Marty has established in Montreal that would give those players plenty of reason to believe they would be better and that they can be a lot better than they've shown through 7 games. I just worry if the confidence gets dented with the way these games are going, not the results, but the way they're going.
Eric, I have a question for you about Kirby Dach. Any concern on the management front that he doesn't come back from this injury and this is what he is?
I don't think so. And I mean, if there's a 5% concern level, it's totally justifiable and understandable, right? Like, he didn't just tear his ACL; he tore the MCL too in the same knee. He's playing in a knee brace for the first time in his life. He's playing coming off a surgery that, when you miss 8 months of being on the ice and then have to wait a couple more till the season starts, and be expected to be a play driver at center, and you lose, one of the top line mates you could have had in line A early on. None of that helps. I keep looking at Kirby and thinking about Connor Brown last year. Like, Oilers fans would have paid his ticket out of town, and then the playoffs came, and I think they would have built a statue of him outside the building. Kirby can't wait, and the Canadiens can't wait for Kirby to be there, come playoff time, because they won't be there if Kirby isn't there earlier. But there is just a reality here that it's going to take time, and it's not the foot speed, it's not the conditioning, it's not the touches, it's processing the game at the speed that he's accustomed to. Like, if you think psychologically about what would be going through Kirby's head, it's like he knows he can make these plays, and then as they develop, like on the ice, his hands and feet are not doing what his brain expects them to do at the time that it's timing. I've seen gradual steps. A lot of people will look at it on the surface. Oh, okay, he's got 2 assists on the season. It's not happening. And he's getting cratered in the possession numbers. But you have to look past that and evaluate the player practice, game after game practice. There is gradual improvement going on. And I thought he played a solid game with Suzuki and Coffey. I thought it was a good move to move him there to the wing, take a little pressure off him, and put him with 2 guys who can spark him, especially with Suzuki challenging himself, saying, I need to be better. You knew he was going to be the best Montreal Canadien on the ice last night. And he was. But Kirby is having to accept this reality that it's going to take time for him. The Canadiens have accepted it, and they're trying to buy him that time and take the pressure off of him. I just feel like it's got to be hard for him that every time he does a scrum in Montreal, and I'm part of them, and I'm part of the people asking him the questions, it comes back to the injury and the last year and how much time it needs and the patience. And then inevitably it starts to get into your head that, it becomes all you think about. And I hope Kirby has learned from his experiences with the wrist injury in Chicago and the pressure he dealt with there and the leaving for Montreal, that he can push that aside enough to focus on what he's doing well, because there are some things he's doing well that nobody's giving him credit for.
All right, guys, let's go to the hit last night, Trouba on Barron, and 2 things there. We'll get, what your take, what you thought, if it was clean or not, or if it should have deserved supplemental discipline, what have you. But also, Pierre, I want you to talk about what we were talking about, if you don't mind. Just, there's also some coaching involved in maybe preventing this. So let's listen to that hit right now.
Dach moved it, and it's carried out by Barron. Justin Barron off the board, taken away. Oh, big hit by Trouba, and Barron is down.
And now Matheson goes to Trouba.
All right, so Eric, my take right away I'm going to say is I don't think this deserves supplemental discipline, but I will admit, as Pierre pointed out, I heard him on air and he said it to us, the principal point wound up being the head. But it obviously you got to take in what was the player on the receiving end doing, and I think he kind of set himself up for that. And I don't like to be a victim blamer by any means, but the fact is if he's not leaning in or leaning down like that, it's not his head, it's his chest. I don't think Trouba came in there saying, I'm going to take this guy's head off. I think he said, I'm going to really hit him hard. I'm going to potentially, I don't know, I'm going to send a message. But I don't think he was particularly straight out premeditated going for the head there. So that's my take. You?
I agree. Well, listen, there's two words, right? People use clean or dirty. I look at legal and illegal. The check is illegal. And Trouba, for everybody who thinks he's escaping suspension all the time, Trouba has figured out how the rules work and how he can play his brand of hockey within those rules. And if the people who have a problem with it really have a problem with the rules. My big takeaway on this, guys, and I don't like blaming the victim either, but this is a wider problem league-wide. It is a problem that players, for whatever reason, with changes that have come in an evolutionary fashion in the game, don't expect to get hit. They just certain areas of the ice where they're not expecting to get hit. And you can't afford to do that with Jacob Trouba on the ice, number one, but you can't afford to do that in the NHL, period. I think back, you want to talk about an example from a couple of years ago. I think it was Philip Hronek skating up the middle of the ice and getting absolutely destroyed by Ryan Reeves. You guys remember that hit?
Dude.
You're carrying the puck through the middle of the ice, through your own zone, up the ice in a vertical straight line. If you are not expecting to get hit in that situation, there's a problem. And it's not just Hronek, and it's not just Justin Barron. You're seeing this around the league where we see a bunch of these hits and people are complaining about the head and this and that. But the head's not being picked. It's being hit. It may be the principal point of contact, but it's not a hit where somebody's coming across the side, totally missing the body and picking the head. And players better wisen up to the reality that this game happens so fast that if you are not prepared to be hit, you're going to end up in a real bad situation. And the scary thing for me watching that one last night was not only the impact from Trouba and Barron, but Barron's smacking his head real hard on the ice. And I just hated to see that, especially since he was playing good hockey, like making the next step in his development. And nobody wants to see that happen, but there's something going on in this league where players are not expecting it, and that can't be.
Well, there are a couple of things about the hit, Jimmy. One, I thought principal point of contact was the hit. Two, I didn't like the upward thrust by Jacob Trouba. He wasn't standing flat-footed. He was thrusting up to maximize pain. He never chicken winged. He kept the shoulder in, which is fine. The shoulder makes contact, not the elbow. So, I mean, I get that part of it. That's a Scott Stevens thing. Keep it plugged in and come across. But this is where I have an issue with it. I wasn't in the room, but I will tell you right now, I've been in plenty of rooms. And if you have a player like that in the other team, especially with the young players, you remind them, whether it's like the icing thing. You remind them, whether it's Stefan Robida, whether it's Trevor Letowski. I don't think Marty has to do that. That's why, or Roger Grillo even. You remind the players, this guy, don't try to cut across his face because he's going to pulverize your face. That play's simple right there. You gain the line and you chip it deep and you get off, or you get back to the right side where you belong. He put himself in a tough spot. Hey, look, I coached in this league where there was a red line, and guys like Ulf Samuelsson, the late Brian Marchman, Steve Smith, Charlie Huddy, I can go down the line. You try that stuff, they break your leg. You know? Yeah. They break your leg. So I'm just telling you, like, and we used to warn guys. I mean, I remember the 92 final, we played Chicago, and Marchman played for Chicago. Eventually ended up playing for me too, and I loved having him on my team. I loved coaching that guy. But we remember, like, telling Mario and telling him, Brian Trotchi and telling all the guys, like, if he's out there, don't try to cut back against the grain because he's probably going to break your leg.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Pierre.
And on this play, Barron is trying to do the right thing and chip it in, loses the puck in his feet, and the second he looks down, it's over. But Pierre, and Jimmy, do you not see something endemic here where, the league has cut down on that Matt Cook style hit that come across and just take someone's chin out? but it's led to almost guys just not expecting that they're going to get popped like open ice.
Such a good point. And this is my argument with college. It's a totally great point, and it's very, very valuable. So this is what I say to college coaches. You tell your guys when they turn pro, the first thing that's coming off is their shield. And they can't dive face first in front of shots to block shots. And when they go in to hit people, they can't use their head as a battering ram, which is what they do in college hockey. And they just can't go in at 95 miles an hour with their stick down on the ice, expect not to get hit. And they're going to blow their teeth out of their face, or they're going to break their jaw. Because that's what happened. And I've been a proponent of this since 1985 when I was coaching in college hockey till now, telling all the college guys, get them in half shields. Get the full face mask off these guys because it creates terrible habits. And that's to Eric's point. I think there's something endemic in the league where they got rid of certain plays and guys just said, okay, now I can make it a skills competition. And it doesn't work. So I love what Eric said there because I agree with it. I agree. But if I were coaching with Montreal, I would have told that kid, you get across the red line and you see him, unless you're moving it to a teammate, you're getting it deep. And you tell our college players, because I've seen him do this at Crosby a million times. Like Jacob Trouba's persona non grata in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but
and when we talk about clean and dirty versus legal, illegal, okay, this guy, I don't want to say he's clean. He goes within the rules that allow him to do it, and he hits people in the head. This is a feature of his game, but he's found a way to do it within the rules, which allows for head contact. And if you have a real gripe about this, you have a gripe with the rules. And I don't know if the rules are going to change. And I've also heard people say, they should just adopt the international rule. But the international rule doesn't just absolve you from being able to hit people in the head either. Like I don't know what the fix is. I don't think the NHL will take the impetus. You want to know who is in real control of this potentially changing down the line, that if you want to punish head contact, it's the players. It's the players. Those are the only people who can make this change.
Yeah. The scariest one last year, and he didn't get him, last year in the playoffs, if he got Marty Necas with that flying elbow in the playoffs,
he would have killed him.
If he might have decapitated him.
Or paralyze him, at least. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, Eric, we want to thank you for joining us. It was good to finally get you on. Yeah, great times. And we'll have you on again down the line, and keep up the great work at Sportsnet. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Looking forward
to Boston. You coming to Boston for the Centennial game?
I believe I am. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see. I got to work it out. We're a little ahead of a schedule on that in terms of planning, but I hope to be there. It's a back-to-back for the Canadiens. It's an afternoon game too. So it's Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, I'll be rushing off a plane at Logan, coming in from Ireland to make it over there in time. So I'll make it. I'll be there.
I'll be at a college game. I'll be at a college game scouting, Jimmy.
Exactly. There you go. Eric Engels joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
All right. Good stuff. And he knows his stuff, and he's tied in with the team there, Pierre. So
you hear what he said? They're not talking. Those kids aren't talking. No way. No, I'm watching and I'm going, nobody is talking. I'm watching the play like in super slow motion. And the one thing
they're not in sync.
If you watch the high and wide replay of that goal, the icing goal, the trail official who dropped the puck, his arm is up to signal for icing. The lead who makes the call on icing doesn't.
Yep.
Doesn't. And he's looking. It's not his responsibility to say ice, ice, ice. It's not his job.
Players got to be aware.
Players need to know, and the goalie's got to help.
Yep.
Because the players are chasing the puck. They should be, and they weren't in this case. They were lollygagging back.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the point is, he knows, and I like the fact that he said it. Eric does. They don't talk a lot. They're young guys, and they need to start, and that's coaching. I don't, and I'm not blaming Marty for this. This is, assistant coaches are there not just as hood ornaments. Assistant coaches got to work.
They play a major role.
Yep. They really do. And everybody's, those assistant coaches don't matter. They matter a ton. It's player development, making players better, understanding the little things in the game. And they've gone out and hired a real veteran guy in Roger Grillo. And I don't know if he's in Montreal, not upstairs, calling down or not. But they got a substantial staff there. It's not like it's a small little staff.
And I would say this, just because there's a lot of people out there right now, Habs fans, Canadiens fans are growing impatient. I get it. I understand your frustration. But at the same time, as Eric said there, and Pierre and I have said, and I mentioned Don Waddell said the same thing, let's give it 20 games. All right, let's pump the brakes on fire Marty, get him out of here. And
No.
you're not there yet. You're not. You may get there. No one's saying that he's he's got a free pass by any means. No, we're not saying that at all. But let's pump the brakes. As we just discussed with Eric, Pierre, they've dealt with some setbacks health-wise. They're adjusting, and so far, and I'm just digesting what we've seen so far because that's all we have to work with. I don't think the kids are ready to adjust yet. They're struggling to this adjustment. They're struggling to working around, the lineup not being the way you thought it would be when the season started or a month before the season started. But they got to learn, and the only way to learn is when it happens. And so it's a process. And I know that's cliche, but it's true. It really is a process. So give it a little more time before you're calling for the pink slip.
I just want to, again, we want to be fair here. The New York Rangers last night, we've talked about this line since the first night of the year. Will Cooley, Philip Hedl, and Capo Caco. Jimmy, they dominated that game last night. They've been dominating a lot of games. Yep. We had Scotty Bowman on before the season started. What did he tell us? The one trend that he's noticing is if you do not have a quality depth scoring position, you can't win. You can't win.
Nope.
The Rangers are winning because they have quality scoring depth. The Winnipeg Jets are the only undefeated group right now. Okay? And they have Adam Lowry, they have Mason Appleton, and then Nino Niederreiter. That line is running roughshod over people. They did again last night.
Yeah.
In St. Louis.
Yep.
I mean, so the Canadiens don't have that.
No.
They're not there.
And that's fine.
And that's what I'm saying. They're not there yet. So there's certain things they need to do. Implement the standards that are necessary to win. I think they're on their way to doing that. Get them talking more. This will be a graphic, easy for the coaches to implement that. Exactly. And to me, the biggest thing is be better defensively in the neutral zone and be better defensively, especially when closing the gap in your own zone. These are simple fixes.
Yes.
But it had to start today. I wasn't there, but I'm glad that he said that Marty acknowledged that the players worked really hard today.
Good.
If they got a day off today or they went,
their day off is tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's one of the mandated day offs.
I understand that. I'm glad it wasn't today. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And look, by no means are we saying, Marty, like I said, Marty's not exempt from anything here. And what Pierre just said involves better coaching and more coaching. But, he can't change the fact that he doesn't have that line like the Rangers have. That's not going to change. If you fire Marty St. Louis, that line isn't all of a sudden going to appear on the Canadiens. Just like I'm going at it with some Bruins fans here, trying to calm them down a bit. And they're saying, get rid of Montgomery, get rid of Montgomery. I'm like, okay, so is Montgomery going to change the fact that the next coach has to use, Max Jones on his second line, or because they don't have a good second line winger, or, he's not going to change.
They have a couple overrated players.
Yeah. That's not going to change with a new coach.
No. And
his coach isn't going to pull some trick out of a magic hat and make a change or be able to make these players be something or not. It's not going to happen.
Go ahead.
No, good. Patience.
This is the one thing that's really important for people to know, because I haven't read it anywhere, Jimmy, and I haven't heard it anywhere. And this, just remember, and I know a lot of hockey people, inside hockey people, watch this and listen. There's one name that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one that can come in and have instantaneous credibility and change the perception of your franchise right now, and that's Joel Quenneville.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one.
Yep.
I'm telling you, Babcock's not coming back.
Yep.
So that's another story. But Quenneville is,
mm-hmm.
and he's the one that if you hire him, he changes the complexion of your franchise.
He does. He does. I agree. But we'll see what happens right now. I don't think any team's there yet. I think.
Well, I think a couple are close to me.
Yeah.
I think a couple are close. And Montreal's not one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
think one team is close, but I just wonder if that one team, I'm not going to say who that team is right now, but you probably know what I'm talking about. I think they're going internal if anything happens.
Where's that?
I don't feel comfortable saying.
I thought you were going to.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable saying a team, but I think there's a few teams out there that people are talking about where there could be a coaching change. And my gut feeling is on one of them. It would be an internal change, not a external, not bringing,
No, I understand.
All right. We mentioned that I will be rushing off a plane from Dublin to get over to the Centennial game, Pierre, and that's because we will be over at the Friendship 4 in the week leading into that Centennial game, and we're really looking forward to that. We found out we're all set thanks to Sarah Stanton and Cara Travel that we are booked and ready to go in our first night there in Dublin, and then we'll head up to Belfast the next day, and we will be broadcasting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday there in Belfast after doing a show in Dublin. Once we have all the details of those broadcasts, location, time for the people that are going to be over there, we will have it here. We will announce it. And we would love for you to come join us. Would love to meet you in person, participate in the show, ask us questions right there in person. We'll love it. So
have a Guinness.
Yep. Or too many. One or too many.
And I can say this because I've only been there a few times in my life. It really is special.
Yeah. I mean, everyone tells me, Pierre, now I don't know if I can have it because of my celiac. Someone was telling me though, I might be able to because the wheat is different over there.
Okay, I'm not, I'm hockey.
I'm not a scientist. I don't
know.
know.
Not a doctor or a scientist.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm going to tell you, Jimmy. You're going to have a good time. And we're so grateful to everybody that's helped us take this journey. And it's part of why Jimmy and I started this podcast, by the way. Just to get away from the hockey part for a second. The whole thing for us was about doing something different, trying to sell the game, trying to grow the brand of the game at all levels, whether it's a women's game, major, junior, college, American Hockey League, East Coast Hockey, didn't matter. And I think, we're over a year now, Jimmy, that we've been doing this. And it's grown exponentially because of the faithful people that have talked about it. But that's one of the reasons why we're going. We're trying to go grow this because it's not just a hockey event. This is a social event. And when we talk to the people that are part of it, and you'll hear them when we're at the Hart Bar there in Belfast, you'll be shocked at what they've utilized hockey for in terms of social behavior. It's pretty amazing. I'm
really psyched about it. So we're looking forward to the Friendship 4 in the last week of November. But until then, we're going to continue to tell you about our sponsor here, Betway. And I will have my there's one game tonight, so I don't have much to choose from. One game tonight.
How did you do last night?
Pierre, I won last night. Not bad. So I'm 2-3 now. 2-3. Still under 500, but we'll get there.
You're going to get to 500 tonight because there's only one game. So we'll see what you do.
And so I want to talk to you about that one game in a second. But let's tell you first about Betway because they are the leading global online betting and gaming brand. Of course, you can go over to betway.com right now, or you can skew that QR code right in front of you right now on the YouTube channel here if you're watching live. And remember, when you go over there and you join the action, you have to be 18 plus and you need to play responsibly. All right. The game tonight is the tail end of a home and home with the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, the Caps went in, took care of business in Philly last night. I think they do so again. Give me the Washington Capitals on the puck line, -1.5. Pierre, I was surprised, and I know you don't like to get into the gambling of it, but just based on the way the season's gone for both teams, I was very surprised last night to see the Capitals as pretty significant underdogs against Philly there. First game back from the road, I think it was for Philly. That's always a kind of a battle in the second. Okay, I applaud. So then, but still, I mean, people, I guess, I don't know if it's the odds makers or fans or a combo of both, sleeping on the Caps. This team's playing some good hockey right now. Don't sleep on them. That's my sick pick of the day. Let's get that graphic right up.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
Here you go. Spencer Carberry and the Washington Capitals. And I know we've raved about him already, Pierre, but man, it is something else they're doing there right now. And he really, you can see, Pierre, we're talking about, young players being a bit hesitant on the ice for the Habs, or, tentative, as Eric put it. You're not seeing that with the young guys in the Capitals right now. They are in unison on the ice, and really just, they're buying in, and I love it.
They look like they're having fun. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. I watched that game. I mean, Dowd's shorthanded goal, that's a hard play to make, and he looked really good. I'm really happy for Nicky.
Kept him, huh?
He's such a good kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man, but he's a kid to me. I watched him play college hockey, and then you see all the trials and tribulations and what he's done to be a relevant player in the league. And he's perfected that fourth line center, penalty killing, win faceoffs, be great shorthanded, check against the other team's best players. He sacrifices offense for defense. I was really happy for him. And Mangiapane was a really good acquisition from Calgary. Now, you can't blame Calgary because they're winning. But
Yeah.
when you talk about a good...
I was surprised they let him go, though. I'll tell you that.
So was I. but he, like last night, that shorthanded goal, he ripped that thing.
Yeah.
That was ripped. Urson was still looking for it. He's like, holy moly, did that go in? Like, boom.
That's the word I use for that team right now. They're tenacious. They're
I think they're going to be tougher. Last year, them making the playoffs was really important for them. Gave a lot of their younger guys a lot of confidence, which is really good. And we'll keep talking about Spencer as the season goes along, but we're big fans here of Carberry and Scotty Allen, and we think there's a lot going on there that's really positive.
For sure. All right. On that note, let's get to the Q&A. I see a lot of them lining up here. Thanks for your patience. Our Charles says, Jimmy, Pierre, do you think Montreal has enough speed to compete in today's NHL? Max Lapierre thinks they are a slow team, and I feel the same. I don't think they're slow.
They're not the fastest team. The Rangers are a fast team. The Rangers took the pace. And then the one thing I'd say about that, Charles, is the Rangers passed the puck. We talked about it yesterday. The Rangers passed the puck better than any team in the league. And so it's not just skating speed, it's how well you move the puck. And so I think that exposed Montreal last night in terms of limited speed. They do have some guys who can really skate, though, and I think it will only get better as they get more mature. And they've got, I think Heineman's a real good skater. I think Kapanen's a really good skater. They're just finding their way. They're kids playing, so we'll see. But Caulfield's a good skater. And they've got Lane Hudson's a fast skater. Matheson's an elite skater. They're just, I think they're a little bit in their middle or their bottom nine. They're not as quick as they need to be.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, I know it's early, but sometimes when I watch Connor Bedard play, I just don't know if I see a generational talent. I worry about his size. I also question just how good his wrist shot is. Am I wrong?
You're wrong. Yeah, he's playing on a team that's not very good. And we talked about moving the puck quickly. Their D just doesn't move the puck very well. It's a hard game to play for the forwards there. I feel really bad for all those guys. I mean, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if their plan is to just lose a lot and be in the lottery every year and then do what they did back, when they got Seabrook and they got Keith and they got Kane and they got Taves and they got Corey. Like, I don't know if that's their plan. I don't think it's going to work, but he's a generational player. He is. He's just, he's going through what Suzuki goes through. Every time they play, the coaches on the other team say, if he doesn't score, Chicago can't win.
Yep.
Montreal, same thing. If Suzuki doesn't score or make plays, they can't win. He scored 2 goals last night. They lost 7-2.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next question. Jason Logan, what's up, Jay? Hey, guys, what do you think is wrong with Jerry? You think it's just he's trying too hard and does too much and he gets caught in quicksand? You think he should just go back to basics, if that makes any sense? It makes a ton of sense, Jason. I agree with you. But, hey, if I knew what was wrong with him, I'd probably be making a lot of money off the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You would. It's confidence. He looks small in net. He needs a lot of work with his goalie coach. And now I think his confidence is a little bit broken. He's been a healthy scratch. He's hearing it from the fans in Pittsburgh. I don't know if they start him in Edmonton, going back out west where they play their next game. I got to think he's going to play one of the next 2 games, either in Edmonton or in Vancouver, where Pittsburgh is after losing in a shootout last night in Calgary. But, his confidence is shattered. It's going to be this is a work in progress with Tristan Jarry.
I hope he finds it. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque, I understand MSL is a smart man, and so are most coaches. But in saying that, do you think that Stefan Robida understands Marty's concepts, and do you think it is contributing to the breakdown of the defense?
So the guy that runs a defense, more times than not, his job is to make sure they improve their skill, they improve their tactics in terms of how they attack people down low, where they funnel people to. But more than anything else, it's during the game, handing out ice time. You got to be smart. I did that job for a long time. And so you have to know matchups. You have to know shift lengths. You have to know when TV timeouts are coming. It's more complicated than people think because you're only changing 3. And a lot of times you're only changing 2. And I'm talking about pairings. So it's a little bit more difficult. With the icing rules the way they are, it really becomes a different mathematical equation. So I don't know, but I would say this. Stefan came in with limited experience. He's been there for a while now, and I think he's gaining a lot more experience as we go along.
Yeah, I'd agree. All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, I think the main reason why the Flames are winning is hard work. Am I wrong? No, not at all.
No, you're not wrong at all, but the goalie's been pretty good too. Dustin Wolf, last night he wins a shootout. He looked really comfortable in that shootout too. There's so many good stories there. Nazem Kadri scores a goal with 43 seconds left to tie. Justin Kirkland, I think he's the 8th or 9th shooter. He wins. He's a kid, 28 years old. He's basically been a minor league player his whole life after having a pretty good career in the Western Hockey League. There's so many good stories there. But I'd say Dustin Wolf's been one of the bigger ones. He's been really – and Rasmus Anderson, we talked about him the other. Rasmus Anderson.
Wow. He's unreal. All right, next question. Postnet on 130. Could Barron benefit from similar coaching and training headgear that Slafkovsky received to keep his head up in all dangerous areas?
I don't know how much he'll be in those areas. That was one of those. It was a tough. I felt bad for the kid. I'm watching. Yeah. It's kind of like when you're watching a car accident's about to happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
nothing you can do.
I'm sitting in my office here and I'm watching the game. I'm going, don't do that. I'm watching this happen. I'm going, don't do it. And then he does it, and I'm like, oh man,
yeah. And here it goes.
And I didn't see. You probably did, Jimmy. I only saw the New York broadcast angles. I didn't see the Canadian angles just because I only could watch the game on MSG with Sam Rosen and Micheletti. So I couldn't, I couldn't see all the angles, but I knew as soon as I saw him going like this, I'm like, oh, just get it deep, just chip it and go to your side of the ice. And he chipped it, and oh my God.
Yeah. I think it's just awareness, like we said. You just got to teach that awareness, know who's on the ice, and you'll be in a better position. All right, next question. Alex Evanowski. Again, I know it's early, but do you see any similarities as to where the Blue Jackets are with Dean Evason and when the Penguins brought in Michel Therrien in 2006? Interesting. Talent and structure equals progress.
I think Dino's doing a great job. We liked that hire when he got hired. We talked about it here on the eye test. Brings a lot of energy, and I think he and Waddell will be singing from the same songbook. Those younger players are going to play with a lot more tempo. They want to be a fast team. They exposed Toronto last night. Toronto, I don't know if they left their game on the charter coming down from Toronto, but they didn't want to play last night. Columbus did. So there's a lot. The guy that's going on there, and he's going off, is Werenski. I'll be shocked if he's not on Team USA when they played that Four Nations tournament in February. I'll be shocked if he's not.
Pierre, what did I tell you? Waddell told me about him.
Yeah, you said he was the best conditioned guy.
He said, I'm just going to pull that quote up quick here. So this was a quote. He was talking about in Waddell said that, when he comes and he takes over a new job, he always asks for the training camp test they give at the beginning of camp. He says, I want to see the last 3 years to compare it to where they are now, because obviously I wasn't here. So he did that. And he said this was by far his best in the last 4 years, his test results. So he said he's averaging almost 24 minutes a game and scoring some big goals for us. He knows he's a major part of this team going forward. He trained unbelievably hard this offseason, and so far he's had an excellent start for us. So they know what they got there, and he's stepping up. Good call. All right, next question. Ian Ross, when does the youth movement stop and real additions begin of veteran two-way presence? I'm imagining he's talking about the Canadiens, because that's been the main topic here. I think they're hoping maybe it would stop after this year, or not stop, but maybe transition into a blend of, proven veterans and young players, Pierre, but, things happen.
Yeah, the good news is they don't have to play until Saturday night. I'm serious. It's real good news. So they can have a quality practice today, quality practice Friday.
Right.
Then it's a back-to-back. You play in Montreal on Saturday night, and then you go down to Philadelphia for a game Sunday.
Yep.
So, hopefully you can get going. But I think at some point, just to get to Ian's question, I think at some point you're going to see that if this isn't going the way they want it to go, they'll make some subtle changes. They will.
Yep, they will for sure. All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, do you see teams not playing a full 60 minutes every night, Randy? Unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens. And usually
it happens a lot.
They lose.
If it didn't, everybody would be undefeated.
I feel bad for. I feel bad for San Jose. I think they're working. They're working, Jimmy.
They're working a lot harder than last year.
Yeah, they're working. That only lasts so long, though. Guys are going to get nicked up, and then that's going to be a grind.
Yeah. San Jose and Chicago is going to be a tough thing to watch.
Hey, how about Cutter Gauthier got on the board twice, his first 2-point game?
He did. Somebody texted me about that finally. Yep. It's good. Congratulations to him. All right. One more question here. What do we got? Charles, Jimmy, Pierre, how many points do you think the Habs will get on the weekend? If they lose both games, they will only have 5 points in 9 games. In your opinion, what happens next? I think there's points available in both games there. I think it's feasible. I think they could, if they come out 2 out of a potential 4, I'd be okay with that. I think they could actually get 3 out of 4. So that's how I look at this weekend.
I'm going to say if they get 2, it'll be better, but it won't be enough.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a great second 10th game segment. I'll just tell you right now. Because if not, if they do the same thing in the second game segment, it's already they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's just you can't catch up.
Yeah. I mean, if you could come out of the weekend with 3 out of 4, Pierre, that's
that'd be home run. That'd be gigantic.
Yep. We'll see what happens. All right. I want to thank our good friend Eric Engels of Sportsnet, who covers the Montreal Canadiens, for joining us here on the eye test. And of course, our production crew up in Montreal, and you, Pierre, and of course, our viewers and listeners. Another good addition, Pierre. Tomorrow, we're going to talk, speaking of teams that are struggling and underachieving, the Buffalo Sabres.
Good win last night, though. Good win over Dallas last night.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you brought that up. That was a big win for them. We will talk to former NHL goalie and former Buffalo Sabres goalie Marty Barron, who does a great work on TV up there, and you see him on the national networks as well. Looking forward to that. But until then, this has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.